So a little bit about Huntress, just kind of who we are and what we do for those who might not be as familiar. About our product is security awareness training. So it is built to be headache-free. It is a fully managed service. If you want to manage it on your own, you can. It is built through having real security experts drive the content and manage that on your behalf, and is really inclined to build that security culture. In terms of our visibility, we have nearly 5 million endpoints using our EDR product, 10 million identities, and all of that telemetry goes into the intake of what we do to build the training and to build out the phishing scenarios. Because you can see not only what is a threat, but what is a threat that is compromising actual endpoints and actual users. It gives us the visibility to focus on what matters most. And that is why we're now up to almost 1 million learners using our awareness training product. The folks who are doing the actual, hey, this is stuff that we want you to build, or these are phishing scenarios that I want to implement in the product, are folks like John Hammond, who you were mentioning, Truman Kane, who's my counterpart, the security researcher, as well as Matt Kiley. These are folks who are not only at the front of the research, but also of educating others and spreading that information. The creative team that takes that content, that input, and builds it out, there are actual people who have won Emmys, who have worked on South Park and Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Adult Swim, and worked on EA games. These are storytellers that are far better than me at taking a complicated security topic and building it into a narrative, because we as humans have evolved to remember stories much more than we remember presentations and slides and facts and figures. So we do build these animated, engaging 10-minute episodes that are sent out monthly, but lots of people will tell you they have engaging content. What I really want to talk about is the other part of it, which I think is even more important. So I don't need to give you all the facts and figures. You've all seen this, that humans are involved in breaches. And now what are people most scared of? It's not APTs, it's phishing and people getting popped through all the new fixes, whatever attacks that are happening out there. And while we've had security awareness training in the industry for the past 10 years, we really still are seeing that most of the old school methodologies are built in a way that focuses on what is happening, not why it's happening, that is generalized information, and that is really a one-way flow of information, which is not something that's going to help somebody in the moment when they're being attacked. That is a very temporary thing. And when we think about learning styles, it is not just the auditory visual, but kinesthetic. The learn by doing is such a critical piece of education. And when we surveyed folks in terms of what works best for you, it was a multi-select. Hands-on practice was the number 2 chosen response. So moving on from there, let's just really talk about 2 other topics of why common approaches have failed. They still talk about pedagogy, which is how you teach children. Children are great at imitating. They are great at learning and learning for the purpose of receiving that gold star, that A+, that recognition. Adults are not children. Adults, the study of adult education is andragogy, which was really developed in the 1960s and 70s as a new study. And we actually brought in a PhD from UCLA in andragogy to work with us both in developing the product and to build a white paper, which we'd be happy to share out to anybody who's interested. But to really summarize it, the key concepts for adult learning and for making the adults retain the ideas, it's making it self-directed, not because mom and dad told you have to go to school. It's because you are owning your own destiny. It is directly relevant to me as opposed to generalized. It is experience-based. It is problem-centric and not vague and unrelatable and internally motivated. Because remember, as adults, we choose our own destiny, we choose our own path. And again, we need to get people to want to go down that path and let them have that opportunity. So how do we do that? And how do we do hands-on learning for non-technical people? right? You're not going to just throw Kali Linux box in front of your accounting person and let them try to figure it out. Well, part of it is we do the simulated phishing emails, and we do them with all the current latest attacks, like asking them to go through a ClickFix prompt, but even more importantly, to making it a personalized, internally driven thing. There's an immediate set of coaching that comes up where we ask them why they chose to click the link, which again is building up more of that relevance and that problem-centric, oh, okay, why did I do this? Responds with, this is how hackers have thought about this and why they wanted you to do that. And then on the relevant piece of that adult learning section, we take the exact email they got, and I don't know if you can see that on the two, it's a little bit pixelated. It would not say Jim Halpert at DunnerMifflin.com. It would say their actual email address, continuing to build on that relevance and doing it in the moment. Of course, we'll send a reminder if they didn't do it, but doing it in the moment so that somebody has that immediate reaction and immediate benefit. And again, making it hyper relevant and actionable and creating that as an ongoing thing. Now, the thing that I'm super excited to talk to you about is something new that we've built out, which are game-like simulations. So this is something that we started doing in beginning of 2025. We've built 4 out so far, and they've only been getting better. It's the same creative team that built things out. But we wanted to give somebody the perspective of, okay, what would a bad actor do if they're trying to steal passwords? So instead of teaching you how to build a strong password, let's show you what it looks like to go through a top 100 passwords list. Let's show you that password reuse doesn't have to be the exact, but if you have the long base plus Google plus Microsoft, whatever, that you can see that and learn from that. Same thing with Spear Phishing and OSINT, but Smishing is the latest one, and just to kind of talk through what we've been doing, it's you start off with this character who welcomes you in, that's cool. We introduce an in-game cryptocurrency, DD coins, in the episodes. The bad actor, the person who is doing all the phishing is a little girl named Dee Dee, so that's a bit of an inside joke. But then we give you, okay, let's choose which brand you want to use in your smishing campaign. And once you pick one, you're not learning about sense of urgency by watching or reading something, nor the types of threats and that bad actors use the reply with why, so that now links are clickable. You're doing this yourself because your motivation is to have the highest number of those Diddy coins. And when you see a message come in with a phone number from the Philippines and with a reply with why, or with a group message, you've seen that in an attack that you've perpetrated. So, like I said, you start off with this, okay, here's some options, and you know that the one that has the local phone number is more expensive, you don't have enough money, you need to earn more points, furthering that internal motivation and that gamification. But we're seeing people go through these, make their choices. Yeah. It gets popped into a, in-game generative AI to show you what that fish would look like. Little reminder that phishing and smishing these days does not have typos, does not have Nigerian princes, etc. But again, instead of doing the lecture, it is self-directed. Also, like subdomain and dashes, and getting to experience that firsthand and building those out, and then giving that reward, and also encouraging them to share their score on their internal team server, on LinkedIn, etc., compete with others. And coming back, this is where we really built this to hit on as many of these points as possible, and I think we've really nailed it, and the results have been pretty awesome. At 1 million learners in total, or almost, this is purely optional. Nobody is required to do this, but we've had 150,000 people opt in to do the simulations and complete them. We do a survey at the end, and like 11,000 survey responses is statistically relevant. And we ask a lot of the questions, but the one of, do you feel better prepared when you actually encounter this in the real world? 94% on average said yes, but we kind of break them down based on the different simulations we've done, like by the time we got to Smishing, it was at 98%. Part of it is that we've been learning as we've been building these, but that's where we really build in that practice. So with that, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to say if you want to try one of the simulations now, I'll be over there at the demo station, or take a photo of this QR code and you can try it yourself with no email address required, no free trials, just a purely ungated link that I've created. And that you should feel free to share with colleagues or whoever you want.